Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. And, welcome to this show. And want to thank you very much for being with me every Saturday and, sharing the thoughts and the concerns that goes on. Right now, we know news from nowhere is pleasant or good. As the saying goes, only bad news makes news. Good news doesn't make news. So what is the bad thing that has happened in relation to the news element? We know we have been struggling, fighting, struggling, winning over the coronavirus, which I popularly call as Wuhan virus. Now, the second wave of the Wuhan virus has hit India, which in a remarkable way is only called as India mutant virus, right? Something like that, right? Isn't it? That is India specific, India strain or whatever.
Right.
My question that comes to my mind is that if we are willing to call this mutancy as India mutant virus, coronavirus, why the hell don't we say the original was the China virus? Very simple question. Is it journalistic freedom of expression and freedom of speech to ask a question? But the second wave of the virus that has hit India, it has created a kind of a panic. You are seeing a whole lot of things in play, the political play, the chicanery of blaming Modi, blame Modi, blame Modi, blame Modi. Even Australian newspapers are talking. Even Subramaniam Swamy went into that part of it.
Yeah.
Think about it. Everyone is trying to somewhere along the line make India look bad. That's my worry. Disasters happened. Everybody expected millions to die in the second wave in the United States. But here is an important part. How the narrative in the West and in America has been made to make India really look bad, as if everything has crashed. But there is a very interesting data point. One of the things that West has attacked is that Indian numbers are underreported.
Right.
And I'm wondering, how can you underreport the data of death in this point in time? If that is the case, then whose data do we believe in? And I looked up Google, the most trustworthy internet source. And I was pretty astonished to say, and you can look it up. I have my iPad open here. I can give you the exact numbers. United States has had 32.4 million cases of coronavirus and 574,000 dead. The recovery rate of the improvement rates are very good. India has had 15 million reported cases and 205,000 dead. Now, if you just look at the proportionality of the population, it doesn't seem so awful for India, except the fact that the second burst has created a panic. There are a whole lot of stories here, but there is more to talk. And I have here the pleasure of welcoming two people who have been on my shows before. One is Dr. Shobha Chokkalingam from Chicago, a cardiologist, and Mr. Vimal Goyal from here, my neighborhood friend, Vimal Goyal from Long Island, an entrepreneur, a hotelier, and a very savvy businessman.
Namaskar.
Welcome, both of you. And so, Shobhaji, about the coronavirus thing, let the audience know your perspective because you are dealing with them every day. Isn't that so?
Yes.
So give us some perspective on the crisis, the way it is unfolding, the reality of the number of cases, the death that is happening in India and the US. And if they are saying that Indian data is fudged, and there are many reporters like Barkhadat and others who are making hue and cry of India's failing, is that true?
Thank you, Vibhuti Ji. Namaste, both of you, Vibhuti Ji and Vimal Ji. As always, a pleasure to be on your show this wonderful Saturday morning. And yes, as a physician, let me first speak. I just want to start by saying very strong prayers for India to battle the second wave of COVID. Now, we have seen many countries battle COVID starting from March 2020. And what we see from India is very transparent news, Whereas what we did not see was such transparency and access to information from China. And the way it was portrayed, and we had only bits and pieces of information. Even the American governments could not get enough information right away. So what is being portrayed, you're comparing apples to oranges. And the media definitely, I feel, is attacking India, because India has a population of 1.3 billion. America about 350 million. So the size is different. And also the healthcare system and the village folks, they're different. It's a different country. However, we have primary health centers there. I'm in awe of Prime Minister Modi ji personally. The way he conducted those meetings with chief ministers of the states when Corona started, how he encouraged everybody to stay inside, clap, get away, get out the negativity and invite positivity. And I think he set the standards in many ways for the world to treat itself and also be very encouraging to its communities. And that set the standard, very high standard. Now, we are seeing the second wave. Even in EU, the second wave did create havoc. From December, I know I've been focusing on this. The central government of India has been giving a lot of information and directions to the states to set up their healthcare centers and communities care to tackle the second wave. Funds were allotted, funds were distributed. And if preparations were not done in the downstream, it is very wrong to misspeak and to put all of the blame on one person who's actually the most hardworking Prime Minister of India, number one. Medically, yes, I do still see COVID patients here, pneumonia, on ventilators, and a lot of heart-related side effects. Now, here, thankfully, we have been vaccinated, about 200 million of us Americans out of the 350, 320 or so, and we have enough stockpile. Now, in India, it's a different phase of the virus. So there, they have actually even found out that there's a more virulent virus pattern, which more 70% higher contagious, and it spreads very rapidly. However, when we make sure that we mandate the social distancing, wearing masks and everything, this virus will certainly be contained. But, if it has spread, we need to do the measures right now to control it. But just attacking a country based on a virus attack that has attacked the whole world is very, very unfair. And medically, we do need the same level of care that we have seen in America. And I think a lot of measures are being done. And is there room for improvement? Yes, there was a lot of room for improvement in rest of the countries as well when this wave first hit us. And India was the second largest PPE manufacturer in the world, I want to remind, after this COVID hit us. And so they have enough of that stockpile. And medically, they have the largest vaccine maker in the world, the Serum Institute of India in Pune. And, we just needed the raw materials, and India is capable of producing it. And the case fatality rate, like you mentioned, is actually low, very low. 103 countries are above India's case fatality and mortality rates. So
basically,
basically
what you're saying is that things are not as bad as it is made out to be. We are dealing with an unknown disease where only recently we have able to find a vaccine for that.
Absolutely.
And we have yet to know the after effects of vaccines, and we do not know. There are so many imponderables, and that's why we have to deal with that. Now, you referred to the India being one of the largest vaccine makers. India developed its own. India distributed a whole lot of its own, earned tremendous amount of goodwill. But in the second wave, we also find that US stopped the supply of one couple of key raw materials to India. And eventually, the much talked about Ajit Doval conversation with his counterpart here in the US, where there was only one Indian guy who was supplying critical raw material for Pfizer, and Pfizer had to shut down 50% of its production. So Vimalji, I will come to you since you are in the business of it and the politics of it. I noticed one thing that I know for sure, I'm convinced beyond doubt, that just as in 2020 elections in the US, the left did everything possible to defeat Trump.
Yes.
You know it, and Shobhaji knows it, and everybody knows my thought process, that the left behemoth will move towards India because Modi is the last bastion of somebody standing who is right of center. And they believe India is a happy hunting ground. Two cities, think about it, Mumbai and Delhi, Maharashtra and Delhi, two prominent states with global presence of Mumbai and Delhi. They are run by opposition people, non-BJP chief ministers.
Right.
And these two states have the most rampant case of this, so much so that
Yes.
I believe, not I believe, Kejriwal has not built a single capacity. Shobhaji pointed out that instructions and directions were given to create oxygen capacity, hospital bed capacity, to deal with the uncertainty of it all. He did nothing. Your thought on it? Do you think it is a political conspiracy? Let people die. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I have dealt with politicians at a very close level. If you see them in action, you will begin to believe that devil runs the governments. So
Right.
I won't go that far to say this, but a couple of 100,000 people dead doesn't matter to them.
Right. That's true. Okay, let me just, instead of getting into the news, we all know what's going on. We hear
Correct.
the news, everything. I will try to go deeper into what is going on in India. If you go back to last year, March and April, when India found out that there is this thing, coronavirus, the government actually found out. People didn't even know what it was. And in US, we were just trying to find out. We're trying to see what is going on here. And somehow some people realized that, look, this is a dangerous thing, even though Donald Trump didn't know what's going on. He thought it was just going to go away in about a month or two. And as soon as summer comes, it will disappear and everything will be back to normal. But the Mr. Modi's, and it's called wise man. It's called someone who has the vision to see the future. He saw what was going on. And somehow, I don't know, obviously leaders of the country, they know more than we know, and I'm sure Trump knew. But Mr. Modi took an action. He put a lockdown in Delhi, all other major cities, even though there was no spread of corona. It was, yes, we had cases of corona, but he put a lockdown because he said, I don't want this thing to spread.
Right.
And guess what? Everyone blamed him. Everyone kept screaming at him. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? How are we going to make a living if you're going to close the places? All the Biharis and everyone else who was in Delhi, they were lining up to get on the bus and trucks and trains, go back home, because they had nothing there. They couldn't earn anything if they couldn't work. So we thought it was a crazy idea. A lot of people thought it was a crazy idea. But this is the guy who has a vision. And look, what you see today in India, what's going on, this is what he saw. And you and I and people in general who blame Mr. Modi don't understand that. You as a leader, you know a lot of things that general public does not know.
Correct.
And you see, you hear, you meet all the leaders in the world, and you see what's going on in China and everything else. And that's what gives you a knowledge and information that you act on. Now, either you act on it or you don't act on it. Just like Trump, he knew it, but he didn't act on it on time. And it caused a big disaster here. So in India, now, as you know, 90 to 95% of the people live hand to mouth. They're poor. Barely 5% of the middle class, or whatever you want to call the working people in IT and business people, or rich people in agriculture. They are the only ones who don't have to work every day to make a living. They have money, they can stay home, not have to work, but majority of the people, they will die either way, whether corona or without food. How are they going to feed their families? So they say, look, if I have to die, it doesn't matter whether I die with corona or I just sit home and die here because I'm not going to have food for me and my family. I might as well go outside and work, whether the police allows me or not. Last year, if you remember seeing some of these videos that came out on TV and everything, the policemen were going out and hurting all these vendors on the street and telling them to go home because they're not allowed. It's a lockdown. But then look what happened. What happened after that? All these people, how are they going to feed their families? And that is what's going on right now. Now, I will give you just, if you give me one more second, couple more seconds, I'll tell you one more thing. I've been talking to a lot of people in India. Last year, during the lockdown, when I spoke to these people, they were saying, what is Modi doing over here? He's shutting down everyone. Some people I knew, they were pilots flying the planes of airlines. There were other people working in the offices. They couldn't go to office. They had to stay home. And some of these jobs that they had to be there to work. Otherwise, they don't make a living. And they just kept blaming him. And now look what's going on today. It's totally different. You see what is a reality. Because the population, 40 years ago when I was in India, these are the things that you don't realize back then. But I used to see when Indira Gandhi came out with the thing that Nasbandi Karao Sabki, and has to be a limitation on population growth. This was a reality. Indira Gandhi was not idiot. She knew what's going on or what's going to happen in India. And look it's an explosion of population.
Yeah, I mean, every single thing in India is a population challenge. Like I always tell people that India has everything in India is a 1.3 billion problem. Because whether you want to do X, Y, or Z, you cannot satisfy everybody. And a huge population, very high density of people. And, you virtually rub shoulder to shoulder when you walk on the street. That's the scenario. So, you are absolutely right that India is not an easy country. People are very emotional. Suddenly they will say that, okay, why bother? Whatever God says, if I have to die, I will die. They will give the famous Anand movie ka quote, right. Zindagi aur maut upar wale ke haath mein hai, all that kind of thing, emotional plays come into action, but that's one part of the story. I have, Shobhaji, one more thing to ask here before we switch over to another topic. And so this question is for you, and you solicit your opinion on that everything that happens is a cause and effect scenario. I have only one thing: the powers that be, with the intelligence, the technological intelligence, the ability to listen and to every conversation in the world, we know United States has it. Plus the human intelligence, right? Who did it? How did it happen? Is it the wet market? I have only one. My favorite theme is, and you give your opinion on that part. I want the global leadership to find out who did it. For minor crimes, people go to jail. This has 3.1 million people dead in peacetime. United States has 574,000 people dead in peacetime. Global pandemic of the sort that trillions of dollars have evaporated. Lifestyles have changed. People have changed, right? You mean to say we will let the culprit get away? Especially when we know, I have to say, quote unquote, the crime scene is Wuhan laboratory and Wuhan city. We know that.
That's true.
Why can't we find that out? Why it happened, who did it, and why was the information suppressed for so long? Can we get an answer for that, an intelligent medical, not Faucian answer, I would say, not the Faustian bargain or the Faucian answer, but
you don't want that.
Shobha's Shobhit answer, something like that. You can throw a light on it. And let me tell you one thing, you are not held to ransom here. But, and I don't know, you are an expert in this particular, you're a doctor. You're not a virologist. So it's again unfair. It's like asking a cardiologist, can you fix my bone or my an orthopedic problem? No, I'm not going there. But as an more than above educated person, what is your intelligent guess here?
Well, we don't even actually have to guess. In fact, there have been scientists who are now very well-known ones. I don't have their names right off the bat. I'll be happy to share it. They've already published that this virus is, first of all, not behaving like any of the natural viruses that we know so far. The way it's behaving, the way it's spreading, the way it's mutating, and the flu virus that we know already, for a reason, the flu vaccine is administered from October to March. We don't administer it during summer, after March. So it's just not there. Whereas this virus is a pandemic and it's been present all through the year. And it's growing into different strains everywhere, and it's taking a very long time. And the gene sequence doesn't match any of the natural viruses that we know. And he's very positive. This is what we suspected. We all suspected that, that it is coming out of Wuhan for a reason. But he says there is no way it came out of a wet market. It is no way this is a natural virus. This was a bioengineered. And, the more you think about the devastation that it's doing around the world, I mean, this is like a biowarfare that's going on many countries. And we know where it originated now. And there are a lot of papers being published, and we all should follow. See, I'm not a virologist, but at the same time, there are scientists who are saying this, and I'm definitely I'm in that line and of treating people. Every time I see somebody on a ventilator and I see the ICU nurses who get COVID, from caring for the patients, and doctors, how many Indian doctors we've lost? We've lost one after he had lung transplant. So it's not an easy thing at all. And for us to kind of see this, whatever be your specialty of caring for patients and also your colleagues. And, if there was even 10% of conspiracy behind this, I think the world community has a right to know and also pull them up and hold them accountable. But I think the Republicans were into that last year. They were trying to see how they can pass resolutions to get to the bottom of it. I know the administration changed, and we need to really get to the bottom of it, listen to the voices that are saying that the virus is behaving differently, and then hold whoever it was accountable, which the articles are pointing to the lab in Wuhan in China.
That's a very fascinating observation you've made. And I really loved the way you said it all, which is fabulous. This is where the thought process came to my mind. Whether it was a 7th grade biology experiment in the classroom went awry, whether it was a PhD scholar trying to find something, that experiment went awry, whether it was a biotech company was developing some virus to confront certain mutancies that existed, or was it a biowar? Testing of the product. Right. We must find that. That's our responsibility. Global leadership has that responsibility. And I'm a movie buff. I don't watch all the movies, but I do watch certain movies. And this takes me back to Mission Impossible 2, which is all this story all about. There's certain businessmen, certain groups of people who do this the antidote is created. Now, to use the antidote, you have to use the virus. Some people will die. The pharmaceutical stock prices will go up. We will make billions of dollars. Right. That's the gameplay. So and here I'm coming back to the next topic. The new president has made the address. You referred to the Trump administration trying to get to the bottom of it. Yesterday, what disappointed me most about, presidents come and go. They each one has their own style of speech making. I don't pay attention to that. I look at the substance, honesty, unity, whatever you have, your mission is. But Biden did not say, thank you, Trump, for bringing in Operation Warp Speed, which is what got us the vaccine, isn't it?
And also paid for it, $1 billion to Pfizer and Moderna. Yeah.
Right. Now, I remember this very clearly. This is personal part. When I was studying in Goyal Institute, I read a Time magazine article, Vimalji and Shobhaji, you would not know about that, in which Time magazine was touting the benefits of private sector and private enterprise. I think Mayor Dinkin was the New York City mayor. And the Time magazine's article said, message was very clear. Something that the government was trying to do for 18 months was not able to do. But when the job was given to the private enterprise, the man called Donald Trump, he did the job in 2 months. Time magazine was selling private sector and capitalism to India way back then. That's how the Trump name stuck in my mind. Oh, that's how the private sector thinks. That's why I know this name. I met him once at some place. But important part here is that he ran through the bureaucracy of the approval of the new drugs, removed or facilitated the removal or approved the removal of the processes that slowed down
Yes.
the entire exercise. And result was Pfizer and Moderna were ready with the drug. If before the election had Pfizer announced that we are ready with the drug, Trump would have won hands down. They delayed it. They delayed it until the election results were over, and
Right.
it is now Biden is a hero. What I found the dishonesty, and that's what made me unhappy. I don't know Mr. Biden at all. I don't hold any personal thing against anybody. But that was disappointing. At least he should have said once, and thank you, Trump, for bringing in Operation Warp Speed.
You're
That,
kidding me.
yes, I'm kidding. This is where
You'll
you
never hear
become,
that.
you that's where you become a leader. That's where you invoke the trust. Yesterday, by not thanking Trump, he lost the entire group forever. That's the point. So, how do you find his public speech in an empty house that he did yesterday? Vimalji.
Oh, okay. See, the thing is, I mean, that's a very good point you mentioned. But look, we're talking about a politician here. He will never say that. Now, okay, going back to this thing that you mentioned. Just one quick thing before I get into Biden's story. You know, I'm a Democrat. As Democrat and Republican, they both, and mostly Democrats actually. I mean, all Warren and I mean Elizabeth Warren and everyone else comes out, and you know what they were doing before this pandemic started, before the election and everything. They were blaming the pharmaceutical industry. Oh, they really rob people. They raise the prices, and we're going to put the limits on them. We're going to limit the prices of drugs, and this is a robbery of American people. Oh, we will get the drugs from Canada, and we'll get the drugs from India and all these countries. But see, this is the beauty of capitalism. I'm a big believer in a capitalism and in this country. And I even tell my son, because he happens to be very much on the left, the thing is that this is what makes the country great. Nowhere in the world you will find pharmaceutical companies spending billions of dollars doing a research on the drugs, not even knowing if they will ever be successful. They develop 10, 20, 50, they work on all these different types of medicine, all these biotechnology companies. They have no idea if they will be successful. And so many fail. Almost 95% of the 100 drugs that they work on fail. So this is the beauty of this country, that it's easy for, as a politician, to start blaming them, but they are the ones who are doing everything. They are the ones who are bringing drugs to everyone in the world. Now, when you go to India, you buy a drug, suppose, and you look at one drug, you know where it's made? Made in Texas, USA. It sells for 17 rupees. When you bring it here, you will be lucky if you find it for $50 because it's all subsidized and they don't give you credit for this. But anyway, going back to Biden thing, yesterday, I've been listening to Biden for a long time. I mean, he's come up with 3 different bills so far. $1.9 trillion COVID bill that passed, and he gave money away just like his own money. Then, I'm a Democrat, by the way. And then the second bill, he came out with $1.8 billion infrastructure bill, where he
Trillion,
said,
not billion, trillion.
Trillion, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
$1.8 trillion. Yeah, there's no billion here. We're talking about
There's no billion these days. Just as in India, everything is lakh crore.
Right, I know.
It's no longer lakh or crore. It's
Lakh
lakh
or crore, exactly. So he's talking about $1.8 trillion infrastructure bill where you build the bridges and whatever, the roads and everything else. Now, just 2 days ago, he came out with another bill, $1.8 trillion for education and childcare. And guess what? My son has been working with Bernie Sanders because he's an employee of Bernie Sanders. And he was showing me just a few days ago that the first bill that he wrote with Bernie Sanders and his team, and this is about education and childcare, because he's the chief advisor to Bernie Sanders on this matter, because Bernie Sanders is the chief of budget committee. But anyway, the point is that Biden is giving away all this money. I don't mind giving money because this is pandemic here. Come on, we need money. Everybody needs money in America. But the thing is, how much money can you give away? And then guess what? Then he comes up with the idea how he's going to fund this. Now listen to this. He's going to raise capital gains tax. He's going to raise.
Your son should have consulted you. Your dad, you will be paying for all of it.
He loves it. He says you all should pay. He's at the left. He's all the way on the left. So the point is that now listen to this. Listen to Biden's statements. He's saying he will raise capital gains tax for the next 10 years. It will raise money to pay for all this $1.9 trillion for the COVID bill and then $1.8 trillion for the infrastructure bill. Guess what? He's not even going to last 10 years. After 4 years, who knows? It may be another president. And guess what? All these laws, all these new taxes and everything will be changed and will all go in the garbage. But money's gone. And you and I will be sitting with the deficit.
Now, this is where I have my serious dilemma with the Democratic Party. I'm an independent. I'm a registered independent. We independents have a different mindset. We look at both right and the left. And then eventually it is always the middle that chooses the government, right?
Yes.
All the extremities of primaries converge on the middle at that point in time. And I studied the Democratic Party a little deeper. And I found that their entire edifice of their entire structure rests on two things. And you just said that, on two things: unfettered immigration. Unfettered immigration, come one, come all. And second, the promise to do things for free for their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren with money that you don't have or you don't have to give.
Right.
So it is very easy to promise. That's where I have problem. For your son's leftist ideology, the father is going to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, you may have, enjoyed the fact that this guy your son was, and that's a pride of place for him. Congratulations to him to be part of the political system. I congratulate him. But I'm only saying that people must do things with their eyes wide open, not eyes wide shut. Somebody has to pay for it. Because when you say we are doing this for our great-grandchildren, guess what? I won't be there. And you said it very correctly. Biden won't be there after 10 years, right? And I'm suspecting that after the first State of the Union address, Biden will resign on health grounds. Have you seen him walk up to the podium? At 80, you will get frail. It's not a complaint. It's a goddamn observation.
Yeah.
Frailty, physical frailty comes with age. There is nothing that you can do what you did at age 40 that you can do at 80. Come on. Let's get real about it. That's the point which I'm trying to say. And Kamala ji will fight the election as an incumbent president rather than the vice presidential candidate, because that will attract primaries.
That's true.
Shobha ji, coming to you on that presidential address, I was disturbed by a few things, and I'm really concerned about it in this Democratic administration. At this point in time, I'm not sure whether I do really enjoy freedom of speech. I'm concerned, and I'm appealing to Democratic Party that you guys are behaving more fascist than fascists themselves. Today, you and I, if I make a statement about Biden, there will be a raid in my house. Yeah. I do not know what's going to happen. The culture is, I am doing everything for you. If you disagree with me, you are condemned. Right. You are deplorable. How do you see, this is not the America I came to, I can tell you that. And I came in 91, I've seen a lot. So I'm a little concerned about the extent of freedoms that we enjoy. Do you sense that in this part of the thing? His speech was absolutely uninspiring for me. Totally. I believe that his speech writer is a ready, very, very loved and admired guy by everybody. But be that as it may, it did not inspire me at all. Your thoughts?
First of all, I'll begin by saying, us women, so I did admire the statement pearl rimmed neck wear that Kamala Harris was wearing. It was very nice, unique design. I'm attracted to pearls. It was better than what Nancy Pelosi was wearing, although her pastel colors were really nice and Kamala's outfit was wonderful.
Right.
Now, be that as it may, so that's great. Now, I do want to have a few highlights. One is, first of all, the cancel culture in America is unbelievable. I mean, this is not what we chose. This is the land of the free, of the brave, and voices have been shut just for very respectfully stating something different, a difference in opinion. That the true democracy is when we exchange freely. That's the land of scholars. That's how, a country evolves and makes us all better humans. If you have a better standpoint, viewpoint, please share it so it expands our consciousness, everybody's. And when that is put out, the fire, the spirit of America, I think is lost. I think there's a lot of Chinese influence going on. And, for us to say that Wuhan virus is wrong, I mean, that itself, we'll all be canceled out because somebody doesn't like us saying that. Whereas they find no problem. The World Health Organization today or yesterday released a statement. India's mutant virus strain is now found in 17 countries. I would like to know who gives him the right, what gives the WHO right to state that when they have not stated that China, Wuhan is the source of virus. That is the first step. Then we'll argue about whether a wet market or a deliberate intention. So coming back to our state of, address to the Congress, first of all, I want to say that I'm an independent also, like Vibhuti Ji, meaning I don't get swayed by parties or all that. What is your mandate? What is your policy? And I do want to place on records, I think President Trump was the first one to cut the prices of prescription drugs. The affordable care premium, insurance premium had shot up very high, and he made it all affordable again for Americans. I want to really thank him for that because I've seen personally patients unable to afford insurance. I know there's Medicaid expansion. That is one small part of Affordable Care Act, and we should not get waylaid or get fooled by that. Majority of the middle class saw their premiums rise to such an extent that they were finding it hard to make ends meet in terms of paying their mortgage, putting food on the table, sending their children to school, and on top of that. So that's one. And then the price of, like I said, prescription drugs dropped dramatically. And Make in America, I think we all should give it to President Trump. He's the one who highlighted it for our entire nation and also on the global level. So a lot of policies were kind of translated from there and presented now is what I felt genuinely. Now, I'm just hoping that they would. I also want everybody to live well and have the chances to advance in life. But I also want to emphasize on hard work. Don't have the thing of entitlement. Don't grow entitlement. Right. And we should screen people to make sure they are safe before they enter the country, that Americans are kept safe, be it from COVID testing or be it from, not letting against the law people inside and not having any way to trace them. Don't encourage that. As a responsible adult, it's everybody's responsibility to do that. Do it in a nice immigration reform way. That's what I would say.
But then again, this is something very funny. I mean, I have my quirky sense of humor that when the Republicans were complaining about the southern border crisis, and which was a pathetic sight to see how the coyotes were dumping children in this side of the world, where was the compassionate humanitarian Democratic Party then? What were you doing? And I was saying that while the Republicans were touring and talking about the disaster on the southern border, Biden was not admitting it. And I laughed about it. I said, you are beating the wrong beat, because what you consider as a crisis for Biden is the vote bank. So for Biden, that's not a crisis. For Democratic Party, that's not a crisis. That is guaranteed vote bank delivered, whether it's a mail-in voting or a in-person voting, whatever voting, or the voting rights for every American, the branding that happens.
He congratulated the highest number of votes in the last election. I want you to kind of make a note of that point.
Exactly. That's a very important part to know. But this brings me to a very serious issue that must concern each one of us, cutting across the region that we belong to in India or the name that we carry. It must not. It's only under the banner of NRI we are all Indians, non-resident Indians. And to Indians, I say, and I say this, it's on TV, on record, that you all must become NRIs. And my definition of NRI then is new responsible Indians. That's who we are. We have prospered in this country not because of favoritism, not because of reservation, not because of caste considerations, but all because we were allowed the opportunity to work hard.
That's
Isn't it?
correct.
It's cutting across the border. That's why it worries me that in this country, at the moment, as I see it, there is a very deliberate campaign to attack Indians. Very deliberate campaign to attack Indians because we have become successful. You are looking at a Democratic Party that is trashing meritocracy. This country has prospered. Immigrants are the contribution, but meritorious immigration that landed here and performed to the best of their ability to do and introduce the concept of productivity in the here. No Indian has benefited because of Section 8 or affirmative action. Why do you think, who is moving these agendas in this country in these times, that too particularly? It is as if in the chaos somebody is sneaking away and stealing things from the side. That's the kind of thing I'm seeing happening against Hindus. And I will be very specific about it. All those people who are watching, don't take it lightly. Take it very seriously, because right now, at this moment, we have fought the discrimination against swastik. Everybody fought and united and defeated that step. It from New York, it went to New Jersey, it was defeated. It went to Maryland, it was defeated. Now you have another sequence of events happening. The caste-based reservation thing happening in California.
Yeah.
The Students' Union in Southern California had a 3-hour meeting on understanding caste and caste-based thing here. And I'm wondering, these students, don't they have everything else to do? They are living in a country which is bedeviled with the curse of racism, and they are worried about caste in India, which has done them no harm, has not even touched them. How bizarre is that? And Santa Clara County, without consulting as many thousands of Indians living there, Hindus living there, they want to pass a resolution to include caste identification for job reservation and school admissions in Santa Clara without even consulting the Indians.
That's true.
What do you think is going on in Democratic Party? Who is moving the agenda? Who is moving the needle against Hindus? What is the purpose of it all?
I don't, Vibhuti Ji, if you're asking me, I'm sorry, unless Shobha you say.
No, please go ahead, Vimal ji. I would love to.
I don't think it's Democratic Party per se, but there.
My question is not Democratic or Republican, so you don't need to go on defensive. My question is, who the hell is doing this?
Okay.
Can we identify that?
Yeah,
whether it is happening in mostly democratic run places, it is run by people who are clearly left of the angle. And that's my point.
Well, okay, there are a couple of observations that I have to make, and HAF, Hindu American Federation, they're doing a good job. We all need to support. I'm a member of that. I support them as well. The thing is, there's a fundamental issue that we all have to address, and I'll tell you what that is. Why do you think Muslim religion or the religion has been expanding in India? And if you look at the people who convert, they happen to be lower caste. More and more people of lower caste, they convert into other religions. The reason is because they don't get respect from us. Vibhuti ji, you're Brahman. I'm Kshatri. I'm not Kshatri. I'm Vaishya by profession. Shobha ji, I'm not sure.
I'm not a Brahmin. I'm trying to see, I'm what's called a Pillai. And they were probably somewhere in the mid. mid,
You are
mid to lower.
My point is,
you are what I will funnily call India born confused desi.
There you go. There you go. I love it. That's what I'm saying. That's how, we don't have any, saying this caste and that caste. It's actually illegal in India. They actually rub away if you have a caste at the end of any street name or a government entity name. So,
my point basically is this. I'm a diehard Hindu. I used to be an atheist when I was 30 years old because I didn't believe. I said I shouldn't go to the temple and everything else. Over the years, I found out I'm a Hindu, and if I end up in one of the Middle Eastern countries, they will not like me. And there's some people who are diehard Christian, whatever other religions are, they're going to hate me. So I said, you know what? I'm a Hindu, and I'll always be Hindu. And so I want to make sure I stand up and say I'm Hindu, and that's it. So my point, what I was trying to make was that we Hindus have outcasted our lower caste, Shudra and Chamar, jo lower caste. That is not something that we should be doing anymore. We need to stop that. I'm ready to change my last name from Goyal to Ambedkar. The reason is I'm okay to be called Bhangi. I don't have a problem as long as they know I'm a Hindu. Because the important thing is we need to stop the casteism, because that's a big negative.
Given the time, I got your point. We must stop casteism.
Now, anyway, going back to what is going on in America is this. We do so well, education-wise, whatever we do, money-wise and everything else. In Indians who migrate to this country, it's true about a lot of immigrants. When they come, they work hard and everything else. So we stand out. And when you stand out, you have a temple. I have so many temples around me right here. And when we have Shivratri, Diwali, Holi, we all get together in the temple, not at this time, but every year we do. We stand out because we dress differently, we look different, and we chant differently, we speak different language. And so there are a lot of people don't like it. So what we need, and then see, these are the reasons why Vibhuti Ji, I think, is causing issues among younger generations who are not Hindus, and they don't understand Hinduism, to see who are these people, why are they driving these expensive cars, they live in big houses and everything.
So basically what you are alluding to is that they are jealous of our success.
Very much, yes.
Right.
So now,
but I will revert to the caste thing a bit. I studied in a school, I'll tell you that, in a state like Bihar, which is the highest caste-ridden state. I studied in a government-run school there, where there was no focus on caste at all. My friend, my batchmate was a guy called Pritham Hari. He's no more, but his mother used to clear the earthen pot of crap of early morning every day. But this boy and I were friends in school. And in my school, the whole concept was a Gurukul system. I swept the floor, I cleaned up the toilet and bathroom, I swept the floor, mopped the floor, served food. I am part of that system. But what I'm trying to say to you is my understanding of the caste. I know caste is a problem in India, no denying. Where did it come from? We didn't have caste system at one time. We had a Varna system. And we have enough number of successful authors, writers, thinkers who are not Brahmins. But it was the British who started compartmentalizing the caste-based thing to divide and rule. But here is another thing. I was asked this question by an American. You guys have a serious caste problem. And I immediately said, yes, I have. But it's not as bad as your racism problem.
that's true.
I said, if you accept that human beings are divisive people, are discriminatory people, just as you have a really lousy, racism problem here, we have a British-inspired caste problem in India. We are taking care of that. Just as I'm not interfering in your racism problem, why the hell don't you shut up about my caste problem? Why is it your problem? I use my study of economics as the concept of division of labor. So every country has its own 4 caste systems. And let me tell you what I mean by that. They accept every non-Indian to whom I speak about this, they say, oh my God, never thought about it. So let me tell you this to the audience and yourselves too. Everybody from president of a country to the prime minister of a country to the lowest level of government functionary, they are part of the ruling class. Call them class or call them caste. They are part of the ruling clan who make rules, who make regulations, who create the conditions of satisfaction in the societies. The prime minister, the presidents, these are the ruling class, the ruling caste. I call them the modern Brahmins, belonging to the modern Brahmin community. Everybody who is, whether you're an IS officer or a village talukdar or a county guy or anywhere, you are part of the governance. You are the modern Brahmin. So, and likewise, every soldier in the armed forces to the security guard of a bank building who runs the risk of forfeiting his life or giving up his life to protect a community as a gated community or the bank building or an asset. He runs the risk of losing his life. He is the modern warrior, the Kshatriya. Vimal Goyal, who is in business, Mukesh Ambani, Bill Gates, they are all people of the modern Vaishyas. Whether you are sitting selling a pan and a bidi or a cigarette in front of a Vaishali restaurant in Pune or wherever, you are trading community. You are the modern Vaishyas. And doctors, bankers, accountants, travel agents, everybody else, IT guys, they are the modern Shudras because we belong to the service community. That's the definition of the modern caste system according to Vibhuti Jha. And I said it here. So every society is driven by that. Sharad Pawar may be a Maratha, but he's a sugar trader. Right? Amitabh Bachchan is an actor. There is a community that develops. Does anybody ask what caste you belong to? To the actors, they are acting community. They are entertainers. Yeah. This is how the caste system needs to be understood by the rest of the world. And we have to explain to people. It's not. And in your home, as a father, as a mother, as a family, you are the Brahmin as a father of the family because you are making rules, regulations of the family. As a businessman bringing money home, you are the Vaishya. You are to protect and defend your family's honor. You are the Kshatriya. Yeah. And you provide the service to all your family, whether driving them for ice cream or driving them to a theater or dropping them off to the school. You are the chauffeur. You are the Uber driver at that time, right? So tell me, aren't we everything in all in one? That's the message we have to say. We are running out of time, but I want to ask this Democrat amongst us, Shobhaji, with your permission. I give Democrats a lot of credit. If I may use the friendly banter with Vimalji, whom I often do some friendly banter, the Democrats are absolutely smooth crooks. And I say this with a laughter, not as a crook kind of a thing. But sometimes the message has to be conveyed. I just recently read somewhere. It was the Democratic Party that started KKK. They are the ones who defended slavery. They are the ones who started the Civil War. They are the ones who imposed segregation. They are the ones who supported Jim Crow. They are the ones who fought against civil rights in 50s and 60s. They are the ones who threw the Japanese in internment camps, and they blame the Republicans. And somewhere along the line, the whole thing falls into the Republican lap. 80% of the blacks vote for Democrats. That's not racism, right? How did you do that?
He saved the last punch, He saved the strongest punch for the last.
So tell me, how did you guys do it? You are a Democrat. So I'm asking you a question.
I don't know. I think, Democrat, they change over time. The Democratic Party has been changing a lot over time. Now, a lot of times when you look at the election manifesto of Democratic Party, it's not exactly what you're saying that the Democrats have done in the past. That's the history. But if you look at the election manifesto and you read it, it's very much pro-civil rights, poor people, middle working class people.
They assert the entire agenda. That's what I'm trying to say. They so happily and so gallantly accept it as if they are the champions of anti-slavery, but they were the ones who were the slave owners. You remember that part, right? So end the conversation. Shobhaji, your thought on that, as an independent.
Well, I
I'm
would
still
say
asking the question, how they did it. I
how they
asked the
did it.
Republicans this question, how did you end up being everything Jim Crow, slavery? You guys got the mantle of that. How did that happen?
I
If you
think it's
have
the
any.
delivery also. And like Vimalji is saying, the Democratic Party has changed. And I also feel that there's a lot that's not very obvious when you first interact with them. And there is a lot that one comes to know with time about them. Whereas the Republicans are more like, straight shooters. You get a lot of it thrown out at you. It looks very, maybe some of them, they look very strict. But the Democrats, I mean, they have a way, they are very smooth in connecting with people. But there are also a lot of things that we don't know in the background unless you go a little deeper. Now, I must say that more recently, it's a little different. And that is probably why we are getting shocking things from that group. And I voted both Democrat as well as Republican in the past. So I don't really, not going by party or anything like that at all here. But I want to add just one statement because I think it's important and it really echoes what you said, Vibhuti Ji, about the hammering that Hinduism is facing in the United States, and the Santa Clara Human Rights Commission is hearing it right now. I have only one comment to make out of that. No community or a group is perfect on earth. And, if Hindus have caste system, that is among us for us to decide what to do of it. Similarly, Christianity, Islam, Jainism, so many other religions and also countries of origin, they have their own hierarchies. Why? And also, if we say America is casteless, there are different hierarchies based on maybe social inequalities, economic inequalities, skin tone, racial inequalities. Unless you really address each one of those, to point a finger at casteism because it is now become protected because you're just discriminating against one group of people that have migrated, 4 to 5 million people, maybe a little larger, that I think it's unconstitutional. It goes against the Constitution of America. It goes against the Constitution of ancestry. No discrimination.
Thank you
based on
so much.
ancestry.
As we are running out of time, as every wonderful conversation must come to
Yes.
an end, I really enjoyed your thoughts and thank you very much for coming, both Shobhaji and Vimalji. Really appreciate your coming together. We must have more conversations to bring awareness in the youth. So today, I hope Vimalji's takeaway is that he will have a heart-to-heart talk with his son. That don't tell Bernie to rob me. I'm not making you his advisor to rob me of my money. I didn't fund you for that.
I know.
So I'm glad
day.
we are ending this conversation.
Pleasure to meet with both of you. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for enjoying the laughter. Thank you, everybody. But here is what I want to say in parting. To all Indians, get involved in your communities that you live in. Get involved with the schools that are teaching children bizarre things. You have no idea. By keeping aloof, you are doing yourself and your community and your faith a big damage. Get involved. You have no idea what is being taught in schools. My wife and myself, we were very active in schools. We have taught people what Diwali is, what Holi is, and what festivities mean in California those days. Point of the matter is, the more you get engaged, the more people will get to know you. Something with Vimalji said, people are jealous of our success. Very likely, jealousy is a normal phenomenon. People are jealous. But this is what a senator once told me, that we love you Indians as an immigrant to this country. You are hardworking, you are professionals, you are in higher median income, you are least problem from a law and order perspective, other than the occasional crime of a blue collar variety, a white collar variety. You take care of your children, you have family values, and you ask for nothing. It's time for us to make our voices heard, make our presence felt. If they respect us, then they must honor us. We can't be respected with dishonor. Let's be assertive. Act, Vivekananda said, act, get aware, awaken, assert. And I added the fourth A to that is act.
That's
There's no point in just being knowledgeable about something. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. See you next week, and have a great week ahead to both of you and all the viewers.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Likewise to you, Vibhuti Ji and Vimal Ji. Thank you.